My biggest fear is I show up at God's doorstep and he's like, hey, I gave you 10, you turned it into 20, and you should have turned it into 100. So for me it is, I know we've been blessed and I know we have a lot, but with a lot is expected.
Welcome back to another episode of The Burn. I am here in Greenville, South Carolina at the headquarters for Foster Victor Wealth Advisors with Rob Victor, who I'm going to introduce here in a second. They've been bringing me in every single year for their planning days. And as a speaker, as a coach, always exciting to be brought back to an organization. But what is most exciting is the relationships that I have had with Rob and Paul for almost 15 years. And I think about those relationships. I think about what's most important in life. And yes, it's been incredible to see these guys grow to now managing almost $500 million. It's one of the top wealth management teams in the country. They do incredible work. But what's most important is the manner in which Rob and Paul have built an organization based upon consistency and intentionality in how they live their lives and giving their best every single day. And when I think about that, one of the things that's really impressed me so much is your guys' careers. And when I say your careers, it started to me, and I want to hear it from you, but a foundation built on sports. Yeah. And I think so many of us, when we think of the burn, we think of what drives us. There's this period of time where you say, okay, I have something here inside of me that's going to cause me to perform at a high level. And having the opportunity to play soccer at Kentucky and then to finish your soccer career here at Furman. And I know you're not going to mention it because you're humble, but I love how much you've done philanthropically back at Furman, which you took me to see, which is incredible, one of the most beautiful campuses in the country. But take us back to, for starters, before we get to career stuff, before we get to family, when you think of your burn, where did your work ethic come from? The mindset that I could go play Division I soccer, I could go compete at a high level in life.
I think for me, it was probably my dad. My dad's one of six. Was born in Lexington, Kentucky. He's a diehard Kentucky fan. My mom,
as are you,
big time Kentucky fan. And my dad was one of six. Grew up on a farm. Really came from nothing, and built a career through hard work. He instilled that in me and my other four siblings that I have. And, I think he challenged me along the way. I don't think I was the most athletic to play Division I sports, especially at a big school like Kentucky, and then finishing at one of the top 25 programs for Division I soccer at Furman. But he instilled the work ethic to constantly outwork people. And I think that's what enabled me to play Division I college soccer.
And so you play soccer, you learn work ethic, you take the example from your parents, then you come into a career which I know, having over 10 years of experience, you've done it well beyond the level that I ever did it at, but you think of financial services. And here's a funny side story that I've never mentioned on any of the episodes. I remember when I had the opportunity to go into financial services. My dad actually had his former life insurance agent call him and say, I would never wish this career on my own son. Don't do it. Yeah. And you guys have come in and just focused on doing things differently, focusing on the client, but then taking that mindset you learned from your dad, the hard work from soccer, and now you've built, really, it's a nationally recognized brand in terms of what you guys are doing. So how did the soccer and dad lessons correlate into entering one of the toughest businesses and doing it at the highest level?
I think and I know you interviewed Paul, I think for Paul and myself, both of us played big time Division I sports, but we were both role players. We both were captains our senior year on a team, but a role playing type of player. We were never the superstars, and I think that actually helped us. We got a lot of negative along the way, and I also think it really parlayed into this career. It was like, hey, I'm going to have to outwork people, and now it's not how big, how strong, athletic am I. It's, hey, how hard can I work? Can I be efficient with my time? Can I be effective? And can I build really strong relationships? And I think what we've been able to do here is build a culture that is built around the client and just doing the right thing all the time. and how do we do the right thing, even if it is, hey, this may not be the best thing for us, but it's the best thing for the client, and that's what we want to do. And luckily, we've been super successful at it, and we've put a lot of great people around us, a lot of smart people around us, and we've continued to grow through your help and other people that we've hired to help us along the way.
Now, I know with all great success there comes challenge and adversity. I actually think back to a handful of years ago as you're building your practice and building the future, and I always think of the belief that you had in yourself, right? I've always loved your swagger and your confidence, right? It's a humble swagger and confidence, but it's there and I loved it. But I remember when you stayed at our house in St. Louis, and then you went back and there were some health things that you had to deal with. Yet to me, the manner in which you've embraced any challenge, whether it be health, whatever it might be, it's always been very, very impressive to me. So what's the mindset for you when you think of the burn and staying connected to what drives you and fighting through challenge, fighting through adversity? Because even though you guys have had great growth, it's not easy. So what do you do to manage, some of those stresses or challenges that come into your life personally and professionally?
I think for me, just from a young age, I've always had a really spiritual background. And, my burn for the longest time, it may have been to be the best athlete, to be the best advisor, to grow the best business. As time has gone on, now it's really more about, how do I be the best version of me? And I feel like God has given all of us certain talents. And I know most people, whether they're biblical or not, what I don't want to do is take my talent and put it in the ground and it never grows. And I don't want to turn it into 3. I want to grow it to 10, to 100, to 1,000. So, the burn for me, my biggest fear is I show up at God's doorstep and He's like, hey, I gave you 10, you turned it into 20, and you should have turned it into 100. So for me it is, I know we've been blessed and I know we have a lot, but with a lot, a lot is expected. And I think that is why you don't stop when you've hit this milestone or that milestone. It's the same way I feel about, guys like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. They win a championship and they're just on to the next. They've got to continue to feel and grow to the greatest of their abilities. And I think that's what drives me today is, I want my son and my daughter to look back 15, 20, 25 years from now and be like, nobody outworks that guy. And he always does the right thing. He always treats people the right way. I feel like if we do those things, this business will be 100-fold of what it is today, and hopefully we have huge impact. And I know it's a cliche thing to say in today's world, but hopefully we have a huge impact on our clients, our team, and our families.
So yes, it's cliche, but to me it's not cliche if you actually have the action that backs up the statement. And being here year after year, doing these planning days, philanthropy is so important, and you guys do back that up. How important is giving back? How important is philanthropy? Because I think for all of us, whether it's time, because some people you might be watching, you might say, I don't have the time, I don't have the resources. If you don't have the resources, that's okay, but time. Because I know you ask of the team member and the growing culture that even if it's not money, it's time. But how do you address people, right? Because we're at the beginning of 2020, to not make excuses and to give more of yourself, to give back, whether it be time or resources.
Yeah, I think it's, your time, resources, and talent, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think, a lot of people may not have time, they may not have the money, but they definitely have the talent, right? And that talent can be portrayed in a lot of ways. I think for me personally, I think it's always come back to saying, if the mindset of our culture today is all about me, we as a country, as a business, as a family will never win. And I think that's the issue that we run into today is this, how does this help me? What's the best thing for me? I even look at my marriage with my wife, who is amazing. I've got to step back at times and be like, look, it's not about me. It's about us. It's about our family. Same thing with Foster Victory. It's not about me. It's about our team. That's a hard mindset to have. But I think when you think about a giving heart, that's what our Lord and Savior had. It was about, hey, how can I give away to these people and enable them to have a better outlook and atmosphere on life? And whether that is time, talent, or financial means, I think it's got to be a priority. And I think we have done a good job with our firm to say, we're going to give. And whether you got the money, you may not have the money, we're going to set up opportunities for you to go and help out the hospital, to go and help plant trees, to go and do things out in the community. whether you're involved with different community relationships with people. I think that's the key. How can you continue to grow outside of just me?
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, how much I appreciate your example. It's an inspiration, right? Because a lot of times people say, oh, I look to examples of people where they're 10 years older than I am or 15 years older. And, earlier today in our planning day, I talked about Drew Hanlon and the impact that he's had on my life at 30 years old. And you're also much younger than me, but it's inspiring to see somebody who chooses to give their best, who chooses. When you took me to Furman, I'm doing it publicly rather than telling you, but how impressive that was to me for you to have donated the locker room for a soccer team that meant so much to you, for your name to be there forever. So whether your kids go to play at Furman or whatever it might be, for people to know that you were somebody who gave back. And so, brother, I know you will get to 100 times, if not more than 100 times. And I think it's a blessing that you and Paul have stuck together through these years, continue to put a great team around you. And I appreciate you. I love you, always in your corner. And thanks for joining us to share a little bit about your story.
Heck yeah. Thanks, man.